I picked up a book a few days ago about the life of Amelia Earhart called East to the Dawn, and I was so giddy when I saw it because I love Amelia Earhart. Since I was a little girl, I've always had this, on and off intrigue and interest in learning about her. She really embodied so much of what I wanted to be without me even realizing it. She was a pioneer, and I've already recorded this a bunch of times, so don't be fooled. This is probably like my 11th take right now. And as I was going through the recordings, I remembered something I completely forgot about that actually did have to do with Amelia Earhart, although I've told the story a bunch of times. I used to live in Texas when I was little for maybe like 3 or 4 years. Outside of Waco. We left just before that big thing happened. And anyway, it was really windy there, and I had this horrid hot pink coat, and I just remember hating them. It still makes me cringe thinking about it. The material makes my skin crawl. It was kind of scratchy, but it was really big, and I was kind of a loner. And yes, I did have friends, and I had people to play with, but for whatever reason that day I was not playing with anyone. And so I amused myself, and it was really windy, and I thought, if I just spread my coat out wide enough, and if I run fast enough, I can fly too. I mean, it didn't work, obviously. But I just remember my little 9-year-old self running around the recess area and jumping really high. Anyway, so Amelia had a really big impact on me, and I wanted to read the introduction of the book because I thought it was really nice. Like many young girls looking for a role model, I became interested in Amelia Earhart at an early age. After all, she was so appealing. She was courageous, glamorous, and mysterious. She was that rare bird, an American woman who had achieved fame and fortune by virtue of her own natural talents. She appealed to me for an additional personal reason as well. My mother was a pilot in the 1930s, when most people were still afraid to get into an airplane, much less fly one. Her parents bought an airplane and hired a pilot to fly them around. The pilot had a lot of downtime, and my mother, Grace Liebman, in her early 20s wanted to fly, so he taught her. Before long, she was a pilot, had her own plane, an open cockpit Waco biplane, green with white trim. I just really like planes. I've had a thing for them for a while. I love to fly, no matter how scary it gets for me. I think it doesn't matter how many times you do something that's exciting. I think you'll always get a little bit nervous. Kind of the same as performing for me, too. Anyway, and she was a member of the 99s, the women's flying organization of which Amelia Earhart was the most illustrious member. Flying out of the airport in Red Bank, New Jersey, my mother had a wonderful time doing what the early pilots did in those days. Buzzing friends, flying under the bridges that link Manhattan with the rest of the world, and landing in cornfields, hayfields, and on beaches. Those were the days when there was something magical about flying. There was the incredible thrill of being in the air, the heady sense of accomplishing something that people have been dreaming about for ages. To women, though, flying was something more, still hemmed in by all sorts of restrictions, still valued for looks and decorative skills, still steered toward passive accomplishments. For women, it was the ultimate escape, total freedom, total mastery, no interference, total liberation, which, if you know me, that is a very important idea. Women who became pilots won something additional along the way, respect. Amelia Earhart was the looming absent genius of our household. When her name came up, it usually caused a reflective pause in the conversation. She was obviously so special. My mother had known her only slightly. I always wanted to know what kind of a person she was, why she was so famous, what kind of a life she really lived. I read Amelia's books and the books about her. They didn't satisfy my curiosity. They just whetted my appetite. I decided to research her life, and I found out that not only was Amelia an amazing flyer, easily the greatest female pilot of her time, but that she was a person of judgment and integrity with a strong sense of mission. that she had started out as a social worker and had gradually become as single-mindedly dedicated to improving the status of women as Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Margaret Sanger. I wanted to make a quick note to my friend Ines. Is that how you say it? I don't know. It's Portuguese. There's the little accent above the N, and I don't know how to say it. Anyway, you were recently writing about not knowing what to do career-wise, what to study, and I told you, well, it's going to change a lot. Much more than you realize, and even I was completely dedicated to one thing, and then I went, just went completely a different way. So be prepared for that. Even Amelia Earhart did the same thing. Appearances are deceiving. Her contemporaries knew Amelia Earhart in all her permutations, as fashion plate, as lecturer, as educator, and of course as flyer. But the passage of time has winnowed away everything except pilot, so that what comes down to us across the years is the image of a tousle-haired, androgynous flyer clad in shirt, silk scarf, leather jacket, and goggles. Those alive when she was saw much more. The famous Steichen, S-T-E-I-C-H-E-N, I don't know what that is. The famous Steichen photo that appeared in Vanity Fair showing a chic, slender, contemplative woman. The news photos of her as she testified before congressional committees and clips of her on the lecture circuit where she spent the greater part of her time. Although it was her piloting skills that made her famous, Amelia was much more than just a pilot. That was why she was so much missed. Peeling away the layers, the cobwebs the years had laid on her, I found a capable, caring, energetic woman who had succeeded in life beyond her wildest dreams. Yet she never lost sight of her beginnings, and took it as her mission in life to show other women how to climb the ladder as she had, rung by rung, so that they could save a piece of the good life too. That didn't mean rejecting men, far from it. Amen. She was married to a bright, successful entrepreneur who adored her and gave up his career to manage hers. She wanted women to develop themselves to their fullest potential as she had. Her fame came from her flying exploits, but she was one of the most successful businesswomen of her day. She made her living on the lecture circuit, was one of the 4 founding stockholders and vice president of the airline that became Northeast Airlines, was involved in various air-related businesses, was the author of 2 books and countless magazine articles, was under contract to the New York Herald Tribune, and was on the staff of Purdue University as consultant in careers for women. She gave her students positive reasons to succeed, in Amelia's words. I advise them all to identify themselves with some form of economic activity. I believe that a girl should not do what she thinks she should do. Yes. But should find out through experience what she wants to do. For that reason, I ask the girls to measure themselves against others who are earning their living. I endeavor to find out why girls select particular subjects for study, what other interests they have, and to let them see what other women are doing in these various fields. I try to help them understand that it is just as important to give work to women as men, for they have an equal need for mental stimulus and feeling of accomplishment and economic independence. She was a feminist who appealed to men as well as women because she used her position to promote not women's causes but women's self-esteem. At the time, she was a bit of a romantic, a bit of a dreamer, and she loved taking chances. There is an old English saying, all things are sweetened by risk. That was the way she felt. Man, how can that just makes me so excited to read about it, and I can't wait to actually dive into the book. Maybe there was a reason why I was so attracted to her, and I love that the author of the book, Susan Butler, brings up that saying, all things are sweetened by risk, and yes, they are. It's good to take a risk. So, okay, I need to calm down a little bit, because sometimes reading makes me overly excited. I know.